Yeah, offensive line-wise, what did the film show you, and where do you want to see improvement?
There's some good spurts there in the first half where I thought, especially on the left side, they played really well. I think the consistency to finish drives, the longer drives, I thought later in the football game we kind of waned out a little bit. And the guys bowed up a little bit in the third quarter and showed that they could do that, a little better job. So just the biggest piece, I think, is the consistency part. We just got to be a little more consistent on how we finish drives.
Go to Katie on the left side.
Kalen had said after the game that Ty just needs to trust his reads and let it fly. Kind of what do you have to do to instill that confidence in him moving forward?
Yeah, good question. Ty, he did. He'd be the first one to tell you. The progression discipline is a big thing for any quarterback. So I think when you get down in a football game, there sometimes can be I want to make the big throw every time, and there were some times there where certainly, I know he wished he'd have just stayed with his first read and just stayed within the progression. So for him, I think you just got to keep instilling that in practice. Like, don't pass on your number one, take that and just keep moving. And that's what we'll do. We'll keep working that with him.
Stay on the left side, front row, Chase.
You just answered a question about the offensive line, but a little more specifically, what did you think about the pass protection on Saturday?
I thought, KP, I thought had a pretty good day. There was a couple late pressures, but I mean he was holding up for a long time. Interior pressures were a couple times we had a few problems, which is always the hardest for the quarterback to deal with is interior pressures fast. So they shored up later in the fourth on that, but I think they did a good job with some of the twist games that they presented, and overall 3 sacks is not where you want to be. And I think we had 40-some attempts, so that's not where you want to live either. But I thought it was okay. I think there's certainly some ID things that we can continue to be better at.
Go to the right side of Charlie.
Yeah, Coach, you had a strong first drive on the ground, and it kind of seemed like you got away from the run a little bit. What led to that decision?
Well, I think some of it, probably the later part, is the run game can be a softening process at times, and you hope that you can play with the lead or get into that late third and fourth quarter and really put the hammer down on the run game. And, obviously we didn't get that opportunity late in the football game. We were playing from behind there for a little bit. So that certainly is part of it. I think that, some of the run hits and adjustments that they made at some point, we had to try to overcome that. And they did. We had some nice third quarter run hits, but we got to keep the lead and stay ahead of the change. The biggest part for us was honestly just staying on the field, the third downs, being able to stay out there and sustain the run game and have that nice first drive like we had with some good first down runs. So we got to have some more efficiency on first and second down to keep the run game alive.
Go to Colin, front row on the left.
Ty Simpson said post-game that after that first drive he saw complacency in the offense. Do you see complacency after that first touchdown drive from your group?
Well, I think, hindsight's 20/20. What we've asked our players and coaches to do is when we see that, address it, And so I did think that there were some times there where we didn't look as strong as we did in the first quarter. And so those are things that we're addressing in practice and certainly some things that have showed up that the guys know that, the preparation part will show up in a game. So for us, we just got to keep focusing on being strong throughout a practice, being strong throughout a game. And I think you could see that, we didn't have as good a second and third drive as we did the first.
Jump over to the front right, Pennington.
You obviously try to simulate quarterback pressure as much as you can in practice. There's no substitution for that in a game.
Yeah.
What did you see from Ty in handling that pressure, and how much of a step can a quarterback take from fall camp, first game, to the next game when you have like a game to kind of assess how he managed that?
Yeah, the toughest part I think for quarterbacks in general is not letting one pressure or a bad protection bleed into the next play, and certainly that can be the case. So I think there was times where the protection was adequate, where Ty got a little bit antsy, and he had a couple drives where later I thought he did a good job of not dropping his eyes. So I think the biggest part for him is, trying to simulate some of those pressures in practice and create those hostile environments for him in the backfield that he's got to be able to keep his eyes down the field and poised. I know that's something that he's excited to try to work on.
Go to Alex back on the left.
At receiver, when you evaluate what you saw, was the effort there, are they creating enough separation? And just the finishing of plays, are you seeing what you want across those three sort of thresholds?
Well, how I look at it is I just start with Jeremy Bernard, and that's what it's supposed to look like. And if you're watching the game, I mean, the guy's running in and blocking their Aztec player that's running down the middle of the field and smoking that dude, and then he's running down the sideline catching, play action pass, and his, desire and passion for the game. You just see how he plays, whether it's a run block or a pass play, and we just set that as the gold standard. And if it's not what Germ's doing, then it's not good enough. And I know we got some young guys. I thought Latsier, he didn't show up necessarily on the stat book, but I thought he was in there flying around. Derek Meadows was stretching the field a couple times. Those are guys that will continue showing up. And then Rico Scott, I thought played really, really hard. I know his catapult numbers, as always, were through the number, just really, really high on his player load, just how hard he plays. So I think those guys, are doing a really good job flying around. And I think that room understands, what it takes to win a football game. I know Isaiah got banged up a little bit early on, so it was a little tougher for him to get out there and play like he normally does. But they know what it's supposed to look like.
And on the left side, we'll go to Will.
Coach, did the strategy with the running game have anything to do with Jam Miller being on the shelf? Obviously, you guys did have a couple of weeks to prepare for that, and a lot of different guys were used in the backfield, including, for example, Kevin Riley, who got some good reps out there.
No, I think that Kev, you're right, showed up. I thought he showed a good burst, and that's something we were excited to see was what game reps were going to show up from what running back. And, you always want to have, I think we had right around 20 running back touches in the run game, and you'd love that number to be higher, like 25 to 30. Again, I think the fourth quarter and how it played out and having to play from behind at that point certainly, hammered that a little bit. But we got to be able to run the ball in any situation, down 2 scores or not.
All right, let's finish up back right here with Blake.
Yeah, Coach, going back to the receivers, just Ryan and Jeremy had over half y'all's targets. How do you get more guys involved consistently in the passing game outside of those two?
Yeah, I think part of it's reps, getting other guys in the game, make sure everybody's staying fresh. Germ's going to stay out there as long as we got enough Gatorade in him. I mean, he's going to be rolling the whole time. So, Ryan, as far as him, certainly one of our better playmakers, so you're trying to highlight him with the ball. And then from there, sometimes the ball just doesn't find guys depending on the coverages, and I think that, throughout time our offense has shown that the ability to get the ball to whether it's the X, the Z, or the H, typically balances out depending on what defenses are trying to take away.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thanks, everybody.